It's the Jacqueline Renee Show with your host, Jacqueline Renee Duncan. Join us on Zoom every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern for inspiring, informational, real talk conversations like breast cancer survivors, writing and publishing your book, pandemic updates, and minding your money. Remember to live, love, and laugh. The Jacqueline Renee Show is a Philip and Jacqueline Duncan Ministries production that airs on Zoom every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Enter Zoom ID 558-997-5815. We'll see you Wednesday on Zoom for the Jacqueline Renee Show with your host, Jacqueline Renee Duncan.
Well, welcome to the Jacqueline Renee Show. I am super excited for my special guest on today. Today, we're going to be talking about something that most of us are kind to around this season is trying to come away from. And some of us, sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. So we're going to talk today about the effects of sugar. Yeah, that's right. I said sugar, S-U-G-A-R. And I'm not talking about your boo. I'm talking about that white stuff that we love so much in donuts and cakes and pies and candy bars and all that other great stuff that makes us fat. We're going to talk about all of that today. We have our special guest by the name of Deborah Malone, who is a nurse practitioner. And I know that she has a passion to make sure that each and every one of you is basically making sure that you don't allow that sugar to overtake you. So we are going to talk about brown sugar, palm sugar, white sugar, artificial sugar. I mean, we think because we do the artificial that we fine, but we're going to talk about that today. So I just thank God so much for Dr. Malone's wife by the name of Deborah. We thank God for her on today. She's going to share so much information. So if you got a girlfriend, you got a mother or father who has prediabetes or diabetes, I'm asking you to have them to jump on so they can get some free information. And even if they don't have pre-diabetes, if they are just a person who loves and don't know why they're craving sugar, we want you to get them on as well. But Deborah, I just want to say hi before we introduce you properly. How you doing?
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My language. They didn't talk a bunch of insurance fees. Once I talked to Hippo,
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We're going to get right into it. So who is Deborah Malone? I know some people are asking, who is Deborah Malone? She's a nurse practitioner with extensive experiences and life skills. She currently works for St. Francis Medical Center in Missouri. For those who don't know, she just moved to Missouri, so she's learning the ropes. We thank God for her. She is definitely a part of IHP. She is the Health and Wellness Director of In His Presence Praise and Worship Temple, along with her husband, Dr. Michael Malone. Her mission is to help people achieve optimal health and wellness through self-empowerment and access to healthcare. And she has 30 years of experience of intensive care, vascular, and recently cardiology. And, we just thank God for this wealth of information that she has on today. And we're going to jump right into asking her these questions about the sugar. So, I keep saying Dr. Malone, nurse practitioner Malone, you must get ready to get your doctorate. But what is the effect of sugar on the brain? I'm just going to go ahead and ask you that.
Okay, so good afternoon, good morning, I guess I should say. I know it's morning for me here and still afternoon for you guys. So Thank you for having me on the show. And I hate to be, hopefully I'll be able to debunk a lot of the myths about sugar, because sugar, the body needs sugar. And let me just give you a brief overview of what sugar is. And it's just a generic name for the carbohydrate that is very sweet tasting to the body, many of which is is accessible or is found in many of the foods that we eat. Almost everything that we eat has sugar, some form of sugar content. So no, it's not bad. It's not the worst thing for you, but there are, of course, are limitations. So you asked me, what is the effect of the brain, of sugar on the brain? Now, the brain is one of those organs that cannot do without sugar. So just like another organ is the liver. So when you have sugar, when you ingest sugar, like if I eat an apple, or if I choose to eat M&Ms, that is, it goes down into my stomach, it gets digested in my small intestines, and it's absorbed into my blood. When it's absorbed in my blood, the brain tells the body, hey, there's some sugar, somebody just ate some sugar. So then you get that sugar rush, that sugar high, and the brain tells the body to release this substance called insulin. And what insulin does is to uptake the sugar in the blood and to help to normalize the sugar in the blood, so that we don't have high levels of sugar or too low level of sugar. So insulin is very important to help with the body using that sugar. So the brain takes that sugar first, because the brain is one of those things that if you don't have sugar, you will feel it right away. You start getting lightheaded, you start getting dizzy, some people pass out, and the brain, that function, the multifunction that the brain does, it needs sugar in order to fuel it for those functions to be effective. So when we eat sugar, you know, that sweet, it's so quick to reach for that M&M versus biting into this apple, is, you know, because you get that instant gratification of sweet that we all crave so much sometimes. So the brain, that effect that we get, so good, that euphoric feeling that some of it will get when we eat something sweet like chocolate, a piece of cheesecake factory plain cheesecake with strawberry on it. That euphoric feeling that you get, and you say, I'm just gonna have this one bite. But a lot of times the brain, the sugar in the brain releases this chemical, this neurotransmitter called dopamine, which is our happy hormone. So it makes us feel happy, and it makes us feel, you know, like the world is going so well. So this is why when we eat too much sugar, we get the same effect that, and I don't want to compare it too harshly, but that same chemical release when, let's say, a drug addict take amphetamine or a substance that, you know, gives them that same dopamine release. So sugar has the same effect on the brain. This is why you can have sugar addiction. Yes, you can be addicted to sugar. And for that reason, it is not because we're eating too much sugar, it's just that chemical reaction that the brain has when we eat sugar. So the effects on the brain. So that's one effect. So it increases our dopamine. It increases our happy hormone. But what happens if we eat too much sugar? You know, over time, there's a study that was done by the American Heart Association in 2013 that talks about, that links some of the effects of Alzheimer's and dementia to too much sugar. Wow. So there is the effect of that over long term. So and they don't know exactly how it, you know, why it causes these diseases, but there are some powerful suggestions to say that it's from the atherosclerosis, because sugar, if the body is not breaking down sugar, we're not producing enough insulin, and we're not utilizing that sugar that's stored in our body for energy, then it can get deposited into our blood vessels and cause constriction and cause irritation and inflammation. So that the brain is not any different from any other organ in our body in that effect, that it can cause narrowing in the blood vessel. And a lot of times Alzheimer's, even dementia, has been linked to inflammatory effects in the brain.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's a lot of information.
It's a lot to absorb.
That is good information. I've heard that about, you know, people that are diabetic. Right. They have to be careful because it's basically inflammation that's in their body, and it could cause dementia or Alzheimer's. They kind of, like you were saying, they're relating it to too much sugar. And so it's very important that, you know, we kind of catch these things now, you know,
exactly.
Then later.
Right. So when we talk about diabetics, we know that diabetes is either insulin resistance or it's not producing enough. The body is not producing enough insulin. So we have the two types of diabetes. We have the diabetic 1, type 1, which is oftentimes happens in childhood, where your body is just not producing insulin. And insulin, we know, is used by the body for storage and utilization of our sugar that we eat for energy. So when we eat, as I said before, when we eat sugar or any kind of carbohydrate or protein, the body will send out insulin to say, hey, you need to break it down and store it in the liver or store it for energy. So when we move and walk around and do stuff, the body has substance in which to power those muscles. But if we don't do anything, and say we ate a big meal and we just decide to just watch TV and binge watch, or go to sleep, then if there's an abundance of sugar, the body will tell the liver, say, hey, liver, we don't need this sugar for energy. So let's store it in the liver as glucogen. And if the liver is oversaturated, we already got enough storage, so then the body will send it to other areas like our fat cells under our skin and things like that. So then we start seeing the effect of too much sugar on our skin, and it will store it as fat. And that's why obesity is linked to too much sugar.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
So, and also you can tell the insulin resistance, and help me out here, nurse practitioner, insulin resistance, you can tell who actually may have it is because of their stomach area is more bloated out or more bigger than any other part of their body. Is that correct?
Yes. So insulin resistant has a typical, it's almost like a syndrome. So with insulin resistance, the body doesn't react, those insulin receptor sites are not reacting to putting out insulin. So sometimes your body's putting out insulin, but those receptors are not responding. So how do you know that? We tend to have the body, like I said, when we're not utilizing the sugar then it stores in our fat cells, and it often is stored around our belly section, our middle section. And there is, no matter what we eat, no matter what we do, or in the form of exercise, the body is still not breaking down that stored glucogen and glucose for energy so we're not breaking down and using it like we should with a normal non-insulin resistant state. So we tend to have more fat storage around our middle section, our thighs, our arms, and those are some of the signs. Now there is a formula that can be used, and I didn't write it down, but you can look up insulin resistance, and they tell you to measure your waist to hip ratio. And I think for women, it's like less than 35 for our waist.
It is.
And our hip should be less than 45. So I think it's a 10. So if your stomach measurement's greater than 35 for women, you are at higher risk for insulin resistance. So don't quote me on that, but I think that's the formula for it.
I think it is, because I remember reading that about 35 or below as well.
Yeah, yes, good. So even like I said before, sugar is something that the body needs. We need sugar. The culprit is the added sugar. So because God made food and we're supposed to eat food from the garden, right? So everything, if you look at a piece of fruit, like I have an apple with me today, and you can tell I haven't been eating it all battered and bruised, but apple has about 12 grams of sugar. A banana, if you eat a medium-sized banana, has about 16 grams of sugar. Now, I can backtrack and say the American Heart Association recommends no more than 25 grams of sugar, added sugar to our diet, which works out to be about 6 teaspoons of added sugar. So the reason why I say these fruits, if you eat even avocado, which is the craze lately, it has sugar in it. Even though it's a very little bit amount of sugar, it's still sugar. If you eat a potato, if you eat a tomato, there is sugar. So our body needs sugar from our food, because this is how our tissue function, how we repair our body cells, how our muscles can move for activities. This is how we need sugar. But the culprit is the added sugar that we add into our body, and that's the processed part of sugar. So I do want to also talk about the different types of sugar. And there are many kinds of sugar, because like I said, it's in everything that we eat. Everything that even God created is sugar. There's maybe some form of sugar. But the main 4 that I want to mention is our sucrose. Sucrose is our table sugar. Then you have the lactose, which is our milk sugar. And you have fructose, which is what we find in most of our fruits. And I said sucrose, right? Which is our table sugar. Mm-hmm. And so it's sucrose, glucose, fructose, and lactose. That's the 4 main sugars that, again, there are several others, but those are the 4 main ones that we commonly are associated with. So if you drink a glass of milk, we have to deal with the lactose in it. But thank God there are some products now that are lactate milk, which means the lactose has been taken out of it.
Wonderful.
So there is, as I mentioned before, the American Heart Association recommends 25 grams of sugar for women, of added sugar, no more than 25 grams total, which works out to be, it's 4 grams per teaspoon. So that's about 6 teaspoons of added sugar. And that's not a whole lot, because let's say if I eat 1 ounce of this peanut M&M, that's my favorite.
1 ounce? I eat the whole bag.
Yeah, and that's 1 ounce, and there is 6 serving in this bag. So if I eat this whole bag, right, the total amount of sugar in that 1 ounce is 15 grams. So if I eat this whole bag of M&Ms, which can be very easy for me, then you're talking about 6 times 15, what's that? 90 grams of sugar. And
Wow.
that's just added sugar. That doesn't include the sugar that you're gonna have out of your fruit, the sugar that you're gonna have from your hamburger that you may have for lunch, or the sugar out of the bagel that you may have for breakfast.
Wow. So how
Right?
do you balance that though? Deborah, how do you balance the sugars? Okay, you're saying that we only are allowed to have a certain amount in our diets, but they're telling us that we need 6 fruits, we need so many vegetables a day, and then you have, you know, the sweet tooth that you may have. What do you do to actually balance that? You know, breakfast, if you have oatmeal, that's what, that's sugar too. So
Right.
how do you actually balance that?
Okay, so the operative word there was added sugar. We can't control the fruit that we, unless if you're not a diabetic. Okay, so if, like, let's say we're average Joe, we're not a diabetic and we're not counting our carbs, how much carbohydrates you eat. And most diabetics will have a limited amount. They may have allowed 1,500 grams for the day. So if you're not counting your carbohydrates and your sugar intake, you're from your foods, the regular person that's not a diabetic, you may eat, they tell you to eat more fruits and vegetables, because the fruits and vegetable, like I told you, like I mentioned, the fructose, which is the fruit sugar, is a simple sugar. So the body easily absorbs that. It doesn't have to go through the liver to break down anything. It gets into your stomach, into your blood sugar, your insulin take care of it, and it's easily absorbed for energy. But when it comes down to the processed sugar, the added sugar, the piece of cake, the bread, the potato, then that's where, you know, it takes a longer time for the body to digest it, because those sugars, without being too technical, you have the simple sugar and the complex sugar. A bread, a starchy food, that's considered your complex sugar because it's made up differently. So it's not as easy for the body to ingest it and break it down for simple energy. It takes a little bit more. So your sugars, the simple sugars are what any diet, any dietitian, any association will tell you to eat more of these sugars. This apple not only is filled with simple sugar, it has a lot of fiber in it. So a lot of you get the taste of the sweetness and you get the satisfaction of eating it, but it will also get it will help the body to digest it and push through and clean out your digestive system. Now, if I eat a piece of meat, because protein, if I eat a piece of meat and it takes a longer time for the body to digest it, again, because of the complex makeup of that. But you are allowed, if you're a woman, they will tell you 2,000 calories a day. So you factor in a 3-ounce piece of meat or lean meat that is allotted to us, 3 ounces at each meal, then you will factor in that calorie count. And of course, you're not going to add any, if you don't add any soy sauce that has sugar or ketchup that has added sugar in it, that you're good to go with if you stay within that calorie limit. I don't know, does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Right. It's the added component that we are talking about. The added, you can have a baked potato. Baked potato is good for you. It's healthy, right? But it's when we add in that sour cream and the butter, and in case of sweet potato, you add a little bit of sugar, and it's, those are the things that makes it kind of bad for you, because then you're adding calories and you're adding sugar, right? So I heard you mention the different sugars, right? We have, if you eat, the body can't really differentiate between certain sugars, because it only sees it as, oh, it's sugar. So you're gonna send out, you're gonna do the same mechanism, send out your insulin receptors, anything like, the body will break it down. But a lot now, the American Diabetic Association and even the FDA have said that there are sugars that even masquerade things like your corn syrup, right? Your corn syrup, your high fructose sugar, all those things that are added. If you look at a box of cereal, you will see the labeling of sugar and how they break it down. And that is how we have to be conscientious consumers. Because now, since 2016, the FDA now approved new labels on the boxes that when we pick up a product, you're gonna have to put out the food labels. Since 2020, they have been told they have to add the amount of added sugar and total sugar, because so many things are being packaged and advertised as low sugar, no sugar, or no added sugar, right? If we look at our labeling, you know, a lot of the protein bars that we think are so healthy, it says no added sugar. That doesn't mean it's no sugar. It just means they didn't add in any sugar. So that's especially important for diabetics who are watching their sugar intake, and for people who are just trying to be more conscious of their sugar intake. Because we know since 1950s, when they started adding in these corn syrup to make things sweeter and cheaper, that's when the FDA noticed that there's been a massive rise in obesity in America because of all these sugar products that are additives that are being added to our food.
Wow. So Deborah, is heart disease, is there a link between heart disease and sugar? Can you talk about that?
There is an indirect link between heart disease and sugar. Again, sugar is linked to inflammation in the body, too much sugar. So heart disease has long been thought of a disease of inflammation. Yes, we have plaque formation in our bodies and in our blood vessels, our coronaries, which are the blood vessels in our heart, but there is also an inflammatory process too. Because if there's inflammation going on, if you go with me in this mental journey, if you have a blood vessel and there's inflammation going on in the blood vessel for whatever reason, whether, you know, we're not eating the right food, we're eating too much sugar, then that sets up a process of irritation. And if there's irritation in that blood vessel, the body's response to that irritation is to send out blood cells to try to fix that irritation and fix, like you have a little cut or sore. It's gonna send out white blood cells and macrophage and all those things to kind of heal over. That healing over can cause a scar. That scar can break off and cause a plaque. And there goes, you may have a stroke, you can have a heart attack, because wherever that plaque's get broken off and is directed to, if it goes up into your carotid arteries, it can go up into your brain and you get a stroke. If it goes into your coronaries, then you can get a heart attack, because that plaque can occlude the blood flow to the heart. So it's an indirect link to heart disease, yes. But the other indirect way that it's linked to heart disease is too much sugar, too much extra sugar. The body stores that as fat, and then we start gaining weight. When we start gaining weight, we get that insulin resistance, and then the more weight and obesity, the higher we move into that obesity range, then the more work it puts on our heart. So our heart has to work a little harder to carry around all this excess weight. And therefore, it just puts more strain. So putting more strain on the heart can cause the heart to get bigger, because the heart is a muscle. So if the heart is saying, I need to pump more blood to get it through all this area of our body, then the muscle will get bigger. And when the muscles of the heart get bigger, we get into problems with, congestive heart failure, shortness of breath, things like that. So it does have an indirect, not a direct response, but an indirect link to heart disease.
Okay, I do have a question for you about inflammation. What is a natural form that you or anyone can take to lower the inflammation? We've been hearing about turmeric. It's good for inflammation decrease. And so can you just give us, I know you're a natural person like I am, so can you just give us some information for those who are actually on Zoom or Facebook Live, to let them know it is safe? Some people don't, know the natural side of what, people are using versus the medicine side. So I know they may give you something else with inflammation, but we know turmeric is a good form of a natural for inflammation. Can you talk about that?
Okay, turmeric is, yes, it's a tubular vegetable that has been studied very widely for inflammation. Now it is, yes, it's very good. You can take it ingest it just on its own. I mix it with ginger a lot of times. But you can buy turmeric spices in any grocery store. I picked up mine in Walmart the other day and it was like $2-3. So turmeric has been well studied for decreasing inflammation in the body. And it's not just turmeric. Turmeric is just one of the latest things, but because it's so effective. And remember, a lot of our diseases, diabetes, heart disease, coronary, cardiovascular disease, hypertension is linked to inflammation. So this is why inflammation is so on the radar for a lot of studies. So yes, turmeric is a very good natural remedy for inflammation. Also, fruits, blueberries. Blueberries are very good. And not only is it good for inflammation, it is really good. It is low in calories. Blueberries, elderberries, strawberries, raspberry, any of your berries are really good for inflammation. Green tea leaves is also good is a good anti-inflammatory. Honey, of course, used in moderation, but it's really good for inflammation. Okay. And I said ginger. Ginger is especially good for gut inflammation. Even though it feels like it's burning as it goes down, depending on how strong you make it, it's good for gut inflammation. Can't think of anything else, but a lot of our fruits and vegetable, organic fruits and vegetable, as I said, blueberries and anything in the berry family is really good for inflammation. Tea tree is good for like fungal inflammation. Specifically is for like if you have a fungal on your scalp, you put a little tea tree oil, or even on your skin, it's really good for that. So there are various things for specific types of inflammation. But yes, turmeric is overall for fish oil. It's good for coronary inflammation. So eating a lot of, you find your fish oils in your oily fish, like salmon, your sardines. But again, you can also get that in natural supplements.
Wonderful. So what about oil of oregano? We hear that often as well. Does that help with inflammation, or what does that help with?
Oil of oregano, I don't know that much about it. I know oregano, a lot of the spices, oregano and rosemary. I was watching this documentary, I think it was on, and this was mostly for the scalp. So I'm always looking for new hair products and new things for my hair. So I remember this apothecary lady, she mixed rosemary and oregano, and she said this will calm the scalp. So I don't know of it as any other remedy for inflammation, but I'll be willing to, if it works on the scalp, with your skin is the largest organ, then I would bet it will have, probably some inflammatory process if once ingested.
Yes. I was actually told about oil of oregano maybe a year ago, and that's when I was having some gut issues, and it really, they say it's a form of an antibiotic that is natural. It's one of the top, natural ways to cure anything bacterial that may be in your gut, that's in your body or anything like that. You take it just like if you were taking an antibiotic, 7 to 10 days, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
I love it. Because instead of getting the antibiotics that kills off the good, bacteria that's in our bodies, the oil of oregano doesn't kill off those bacteria. It actually helps. It doesn't kill off the good bacteria. It actually helps it. So those who don't know about oil of oregano, go ahead and Google it. Benefits of oil of oregano. If you're having any type of, bacterial problems, the flu, it even helps with the flu. It helps with cold. It helps with, the different things that, we go through in life. And it actually works. I used it for 10 days and it cured the bacteria that I actually had.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's amazing. If we can just, realize that, like you said in the beginning, God has created all of these, plants, different essential oils, different oils that we use for as oregano for your pizza, all of that stuff is healthy, for our bodies on today. So I do a lot of research, as you know.
Yeah. And sometimes you're caught between your belief, because as a medical personnel, when someone comes in and they think they have a cold or an infection, the first thing they want is an antibiotic. And that might have been the practice norm 20 years ago or 10 years ago. But now there has been so much resistance, to antibiotics that we have to keep, because these superbugs form. Because if you keep giving it, your body gets used to it, or the bugs get used to it. I've seen that before, and it doesn't work on me anymore. So it gets resistant to it. So when you tell patients, try some natural stuff before. Call me if you have a fever, if this gets worse, but you're not going to give me an antibiotic? No, I'm not going to give you an antibiotic. I think your body will take care of this. So that's the re-education and the empowerment that I like to do, to tell patients, no, you don't always need an antibiotic, or you don't, your body, give it time. It will take care of it. Now, of course, there are certain circumstances where that is different, when there's superimposed infection and your body gets overwhelmed. So there's two different sides to it. I don't want to tell people, if you're sick, I don't want you to take away, if you're sick, don't go to the doctor, because they're not going to give you anything for it. So it varies with each person and the circumstances.
Yes. And you're one of the doctors, that, look at it naturally as well. And I know this has nothing to do with sugar, but this is going to bless some people that's online today. I was listening to this other doctor. He's natural as well. And he was saying those who have COVID, or even, haven't even gotten COVID, in order to kind of build up your immune system. And we've heard this, but some people, they just wait until it happens, but it doesn't have to happen if your immune system is built up. But he said to get vitamin D3, at least 5,000 I think it's what I use. Vitamin A, he said to get oil of oregano. I was shocked when he said that. He also said to get zinc. He said some other things too. I can't remember, but we've been hearing this for, over a year now. Well, actually almost a year, about how to build up our immune systems. And so when he said oil of oregano, it helps with, fighting the flu and fighting the virus and everything. I was like, wow. It just amazed me on the different things that we are taking. Of course, vitamin C. Don't forget your vitamin C.
Absolutely.
He did that as well. Zinc. He just, kind of threw all those vitamins out. And it's just vitamins. He didn't say anything about getting a Z-Pack. I mean, of course, if you need a Z-Pack, get the Z-Pack. But in order to prevent for, the coronavirus to kind of, take you through a process that you really don't want to go through, he was saying, these are the things that I take. These are things he give his patients, and they have been helping. And another doctor that I know has said the same thing, but she just didn't say the oil of oregano. But she said the same thing about the vitamin D3. And I mean, you're probably saying the same thing to people. Vitamin D3, not the D2, the D3, at least 5,000. Some of us are just doing 1,000 and think that if I go outside and get some sun, I'm good. No, I'm sorry. You can spend 15 minutes, but you got to do it every day in the sun. And how many know this is the wintertime? The sun don't come out every day. So it's important that we know.
And as African Americans, we are naturally, tend to be lower in D3.
Yes.
Vitamin D. I remember 2 years ago, we had switched insurance, and I went to get my annual blood draws, and the lady said, my doctor, she just gives me the paper and I fill out what I want to order. So I marked my D3 level, and the lady said, you have to pay extra for that. And I was like, why? That's something, and I said, I'm an African American and my levels are noted to be low. And she's like, I ended up having to pay, that's just a side note, having to pay extra for it because I know it was important. But that a D3 is, your vitamin D levels is not something that physicians were normally checking randomly. A lot of times you have to ask. Of course, with COVID now, and they see that it's linked to low D3 levels, vitamin D levels, then most prudent doctors will order a vitamin D level. But that's something that if you don't normally look at your blood work, and now like my mother, her doctor will send her to get her blood work, and if the doctor doesn't call her, then she just knows that it's normal. But for us being conscientious clients and vwanting to know about our health, if your doctor is giving you your blood work, make sure they're adding that D3, that vitamin D level to your blood work, because it could be as simple as addressing that low level or subnormal, or even if it's normal. How much you take, how much vitamin D that you will take will determine your level. So it's just nice to know what you're starting with and to just treat out of the blue.
Absolutely.
But yes, I take my vitamin D3. I did before COVID started, because it's one of those, a lot of the time, most of our vitamins, the body doesn't store it. We have to give a daily intake of it.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and vitamin C is one of those vitamins. You have to, it doesn't store any extra vitamin C. You have to give a daily intake.
Absolutely. Well, Deborah, we thank you so much for all this great information, especially concerning sugar. And I know we're going to watch our sugar intake. We're going to even make sure that we look at the labels to make sure.
Yes.
I know high fructose is what they have told me to stay away from.
Right.
Last year I was pre-diabetic. This year I'm not at all, because I've lost 50 pounds and I got all of that extra fat from my stomach. So I'm now less than 35 inches. So I'm just super excited on what we can do as, you know, Americans, as young Black women. I mean, young, even men. I mean, we can do it. We have a mind that you know, that has that power to overthrow what the enemy is trying to bring to us, to make us eat cakes and pies and cookies and M&Ms, because I love M&Ms too.
Since my husband is not listening, this is his, not mine.
Yes, I love them too. And I do have a bag in my cupboard. And my husband, he's not eating. He's losing weight too. So we'll let Shekinah have it when she gets home, because we trying to get all the sugar out. I do have my apple. I eat an apple for my before my lunch, and I call it a day. And I do the blueberries too, but I didn't know the blueberries actually helps lower the inflammation.
Oh yes, absolutely. I eat a cup of blueberries every day.
Wow. So it's just a cup?
Yes, I eat, and it's so easy to get a handful because they're so good. And if you can't, I pack it in my, if I don't eat, I buy a lot of, when I see it on sale, and I'll buy like 4 or 5 packs, and my husband's like, where are you going? I freeze them.
Oh. And
I throw it in my smoothie. I may put like this morning I had a smoothie with some kale, blueberries, cherries, and my spirulina. I add it into shake it up with some ice, and I'm good to go.
Yes,
and it
absolutely.
fills you up, so you don't have to be snacking. The snacking is what gets done. You know, you can snack, and it's so easy to get a handful of nuts that fills you up. It's good for you. It doesn't pack on a whole lot of pounds. So it's just about eating, making better choices, eating better. You can eat an ounce of this M&M and gives you 15 grams of sugar, or you can eat this apple and get 12 grams of sugar, but all the fiber and the vitamins that you get with it. Right? So it's about choices.
Amen. And you know, we just want everyone to eat in moderation. I know some of us cannot just not eat them M&Ms. I mean, they hadn't gotten to that level yet, but it is important that you don't eat M&Ms every day. That's too much sugar. So again, Deborah, we thank you so much for your time. We're gonna do better. We just gonna have to do better with how we are eating, not just sugar. I mean, carbs turns into sugar. So again, thank you so much for your information. And if we can just have the commercial at this time. Okay, so I am doing a Purpose Pusher Masterclass. It is going to be on March 2nd, 2021. And as a life coach, I am a master purpose pusher. My coaching style is unfiltered, unapologetic, and uncompromising, that will guide individuals into mastering their purpose to maximize the impact of their assignment. Now, info session is going to be February 6th at 10 o'clock. Only have 7 spots left. I said I would get 21 people. I think I only have 5 spots left now. I'm asking if you want me to be your coach and push you into your purpose. I am going to be intentional. I'm going to be inspirational, and I am going to be intense, because we are in this season now where people need to know exactly what God has called them to do. And so if you just do the $50 deposit to secure your spot. As I said, only have 5 spots left. By the time I get off here, I probably won't have but 4 or 3 spots left. So it's going to be every first Tuesday and every third Saturday. And some of my topics are going to be discovering your purpose. Again, I'm going to help you discover your purpose. I'm going to help you to become an author. If you want to be an author, I'm going to help you, because I've been an author before. I am an author. I'm going to help you in public speaking, and I am going to help you to know who you are. Knowing who I am. Who are you? You're not just a mother. You're not just a teacher. You're not just a preacher. There's more to you than that. So I'm going to help you with that. For more information, you can email me at info Jacqueline RD. Again, info Jacqueline RD at gmail.com. I'm telling you, it's going to be an amazing class. As I told some of them, the Lord has had me to be off for a year. And the anointing that he has for this class is going to be on fire. So I'm excited about it. Get excited with me. And if you want to be a part of a 21 for 2021, please, the first 5 people now will be a part of that master class. So I look forward to seeing you. Now let's look at the purpose push of the week. Last week, we looked at your financial health. We had Apostle Philip G. Duncan on. He talked about investing. He always comes on and gives us that good information on what to invest in. And I hope everyone reviewed their finances and made some great adjustments. I even told you to make some adjustments in your 401k. I told you to diversify. Don't put all of your money in one place. And this week, I want to give you another challenge. It is a savvy sugar challenge. So here are the goals. I want you to rethink your drink. In other words, if you are drinking sugary drinks, I want you to rethink them. I want you to do water this week only, unless you want to go longer. You know, they say 21 days and it becomes a habit. So if it's something that you know that you need to rethink and redo, I ask you to go ahead and consume more water than a sugary drink. Reduce your current consumption of sugar sweetened beverages by half or more every day and drink more water. Because I know some people can't just do it cold turkey like others. Only add half as much sugar to your coffee or your tea. If you're highly motivated, eliminate all the sugar sweeteners and that you put in your beverages. You know, we put sugar, lots of sugar in our tea and our coffee. Guess what? Don't put anything and just see how it tastes. Amen. I've had tea that I didn't put no sugar. You can put honey. Deborah had told us to put honey in certain things. And so put some honey in there. The honey is going to help with your inflammation. Also, number 2, I want you to curb your cravings. Curb sweet cravings with a healthy alternative, or just say, no, I'm not going to have them M&Ms. At least once a day, okay? I know some people can do it more than once a day, but just once a day, just say, no, I'm not going to eat those 5 M&Ms. Remove sweets from your office, your workspace, or your home. I mean, because you know us, we got candy bars in our drawers. We got, candy bars next to our bed and all of that. Remove all of that. Get it out your house. Guess what? Out of sight, out of mind. I don't want it if I don't see it, okay? Until a commercial comes on with it. Okay, practice self-talk when craving, when those craving strikes. I don't need anything to eat. You gotta talk to yourself sometimes and say, girl, don't you dare. It's gonna add 5 more pounds on you. Don't you dare. You're gonna have to distract yourself by going for a walk, listen to some music, meditating, or drinking a glass of water. Do you know if you drunk some water, a glass of water, 8 ounces at least, or 16 ounces, it kind of will fill you up a little bit. It'll take away those cravings. So I'm going to ask you to do that. Curb your cravings. The next one is try whole foods. No added sugar snacks at 1 snack time per day. What I usually get is I get carrots and hummus. That's my snack. Or cucumbers and hummus. I know some of you saying that's just not going to do it for me. Well, get an apple. Like we've been talking about, let the apple be your whole food, and don't reach for potato chips or cookies and different things like that. And also for breakfast, start your morning with a good breakfast each day. This helps in reducing your sugar cravings later in the day. I do oatmeal. I do oatmeal with flaxseed, and I put a little drop again of the oil oregano in it. And I may put cinnamon, and I use actually plant butter. I don't use regular butter. I use the plant butter. You can get that in any of your grocery stores. Make sure it says plant. It's avocado oil or olive oil or something like that. Also, try eating hard-boiled eggs with a slice of whole grain toast with avocado or just a piece of fruit. A lot of people are loving avocado toast. So, you know, that's a good form of a good breakfast as well. I've had that for breakfast before. And then your goal is to stay within the recommended added sugar limit every day. So what I need you to do is track your daily food, your beverage intake. Again, women should limit added sugar to 6 teaspoons or less per day, and men 9 teaspoons or less. And also what I want you to do is read those labels. Take time out to read those labels so you can see what is added sugar and what is high fructose and all those other bad sugars that will cause you to gain weight, cause you to have obesity problems, and cause you maybe to even have heart disease, pre-diabetes, or diabetes. Is so important. If you are hearing me on today, this is for you. Don't say it's not for me. Yes, it is. It is for you. In my last segment, I want to leave with you, live, love, and laugh, health facts. It says here that sugar was once considered a spice, not a sweetener, when introduced in England in the 12th century. Did you know that eating sugar can give you wrinkles? We know that eating too much sugar can cause weight gain, but it also can affect your elasticity. What is the word? Elasticity of your skin. It makes the collagen in your skin more brittle, which in turn causes to wrinkles. So cut back on your sugar so your skin can retain its flexibility. Also, and it says according to 2012 study by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the average American consumes 66.7 pounds of sugar a year. That's too much sugar. That's entirely too much sugar. It says more than half the 8.4 million metric tons of sugar produced annually in the United States comes from beets. Did you know that? So we have to understand, and finally, overconsumption of sugar has linked to lower cognitive abilities. This means that sugar might actually make you less intelligent. So guess what? Cut out that sugar, you guys. Do the 6 teaspoons or less, or don't do any at all. Just get them in, you know, your fruits, your vegetables. As she said, fruit comes in everything. Sugar comes in everything. And so just don't have that added on sugar because it can cause heart disease, diabetes, as we said, and it can be bad for your health. But we know that those who are listening now, they, of course, since you are on, you want your health to improve. So don't have those candy bars. I know some of you probably saying, I ain't putting up them candy bars, but it's on you. We gave you the information. And so we just asked you to just try these challenges that I just suggested. And may God bless you. And we thank God again for nurse practitioner Deborah Malone for giving us all that good information. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
It's the Jacqueline Renee Show with your host, Jacqueline Renee Duncan. Join us on Zoom every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern for inspiring, informational, real talk conversations like breast cancer survivors, writing and publishing your book, pandemic updates, and minding your money. Remember to live, love, and laugh. The Jacqueline Renee Show is a Philip and Jacqueline Duncan Ministries production that airs on Zoom every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Enter Zoom ID 558-997-5815. We'll see you Wednesday on Zoom for the Jacqueline Renee Show with your host, Jacqueline Renee Duncan.
Live, love, and laugh, ladies.